Hi, and welcome to Whose Turn Is It Anyway, a podcast all about our gaming group and, of course, board games. I'm Chris P., your new first player and friendly neighbourhood cookware, and I'm joined by other players tonight, JP.
Love it already. Hello.
And Adrian.
Hello.
Hi, guys. How are we doing today?
I'm good. Cookware, that's it. In reference to your air frying nickname.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it would work quite nicely.
No, I like it. Well, welcome to being first player for the first ever time, Chris.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's really good. We always encourage every one of our players to have a go at it. And I know you're probably going to be a little bit nervous because it's your first time doing it. And everyone else.
This chair is shaking.
But it's cool. It's cool because, yeah, everyone should have a go at the chair and have a go at the topics. So, yeah, glad to have you here, mate.
Yeah, hopefully the subjects that I've chosen are okay and everyone obviously enjoys them, and I'll just see what we can do.
I'm excited to talk about this episode's
Tonight?
topic. Yeah.
Yeah, today.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
The week. Right, gents, let's talk about Hex. Okay, so this is part of the podcast where we talk about things that we've been up to recently, game-related or not. So, JP, what have you been up to lately?
Well, considering I wasn't supposed to be on tonight's episode. So
That's very true.
I've had to, we've had a little bit of a, behind the curtains, we've had a little bit of a reshuffle tonight. We've had motorway accidents, we've had traffic, all sorts of stuff going on, haven't we? But so,
everyone is fine in the podcast group.
Oh, God, yeah. No,
just that sounded quite sinister.
There's no fatalities.
Yeah.
We're all good.
We're all good. Just very bad traffic and not being able to get anywhere.
I mean, it's hard enough to get 3 or 4 people around the table at the best of times, but, life and stuff gets in the way. So I've stepped in and had to look at my back catalogue of plays and think, what should I talk about tonight? And actually, I want to talk about Beyond the Sun, Leaders of the New Dawn, which is the expansion to Beyond the Sun. Very quickly, for those that don't know what Beyond the Sun is a basically Tech Tree the board game. Ooh, exciting. To be fair, the board doesn't look that super exciting. Like you put a picture up and you go, is that it? It's pretty dry, but the theme is that you're kind of researching technology for your kind of factional company or corporation, and to basically get better and better to go beyond the sun and explore.
As the name implies.
Okay. And but what's really unique about it is that when you research technology, you start on like level 1, and then you'll kind of go to level 2, level 3, level 4, and you have to do certain prerequisites in order to get the next levels on and on and on. Then the cards that you kind of draw or research end up becoming worker placement spots. So you get a variable board every time you play. So that's what I really like about it, is no game is the same. You've got the statics, standard actions that you have on the left-hand side, which are always the same, and you kind of need them, otherwise the game will break. But generally, after the first 4 level 1s, which are always the same but in random order, level 2, 3s and 4s are all just different, depending on what you draw from that deck. So yeah, it's quite cool. It uses dice that you don't roll, which is
my favourite.
That's always nice.
Yeah, it's nice, and that basically tracks your scientists, whether they are basically tracks supply crates. When you get them out of your player board, they become scientists, or they can become ships. And the ships have level 1, 2, 3, and 4 on them. There's your six sides of the dice, and it works really well. Like as a resource tracking and kind of limitation, because you can only have so many of these things on the board, and on the side you have this exploration area where you can kind of travel around different systems and colonize those systems as well. So there's a bit of area control that goes on. A lot of argy-bargy usually with with the different people, like kicking people out. So yeah, no, it's just a nice clean game, and we played with the expansion. The expansion adds, I wouldn't say it's an essential expansion at all, but I really enjoy it. It's not one of those expansions that twists the game up at all. It kind of adds more variety in the setup and adds another 2 factions in there and a bunch more cards and tech. So it's pretty simple to kind of play, and it's one of those ones where if you've got it, you probably always just play with it, even with new players. But the thing I really enjoy about it is that you get to do a snake draft at the start with 2 leaders. So you get domestic leaders, which are your blue back cards, and your red military leaders. And they'll give you kind of a power or an ability, or maybe a big setup boon or something like that you can kind of try and combo with each other where you can. So one of your domestic leaders might be that every time you do a certain action, you move this token down, and then you can pull that token back to get a bunch of resources. Quite simple. Some of it might be that you can always research without paying any costs, but it always has to be the lowest level research that you can possibly do. There's just different things in there, and it just really kind of mixes up the play style. And your military ones, as you probably would expect, just helps you move around the exploration board a lot more. You can help colonize easier or get big, powerful ships out, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, really, really enjoyed that. And for me, it's just, I keep being surprised at how quick it plays. Like, we had a 3-player last night, and it was under 90 minutes. Just zip round. Like, bing, do this thing, you'll go. Ding, 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 do this thing, you'll go. Ding, oh, crap, me again. Right, off you go. And we just kind of circle round, and it's just a delight to play. It's just really, like, it's not too heavy at all. And I like my heavy games. I like being kind of brain burnt at the table. This one doesn't, and I quite like it for that, because I feel like I can be laser focused in it. It's like, right, I need to get level 4 tech. I really need to, because there's achievements on the side, and I really want to get that one before Curly does, because everyone wants to get an achievement before Curly does, right?
Yes, that's the way it works.
And it's like, right, I can get there in 5 moves, and I can see it, so I can plan, and I can execute, and I can literally, and because the turns are quick, I don't feel like I get lost in my own thought and plans. And sometimes with these games where you have a lot of downtime, what was I doing again? And then your whole plan collapses in your brain. Whereas this is like, you can literally just hammer that thing home. And yeah, it's a pretty good game. We ended up, me and Curly, he pipped me by 3 points. But it's pretty bloody close. That's probably one decision in the game.
And was that a first play, or was that
No, we've played, I must have played this game over 10 times now. Probably
well, even with the expansion.
Probably about 3 or 4 with the expansion, yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So you've only got yourself to blame then that you lost. It's not like, I didn't know what I was doing. Curly beat me.
No, I knew what I was doing, but he just pipped me. And he got some good level 4 technologies at the end, which they're usually just good for scoring. They really just kind of give you a boost in different things. So, yeah. Really enjoy it. I think I recommend it for anyone who kind of likes spacey themes and doesn't want anything too heavy and wants something they can play, I say, under 2 hours if you play a 4-player. But yeah, it's good fun.
It's been on my list to play since before you even picked it up. It was on my kind of, I'm really interested in this game. And then every time you put up a date, I look at it and go, bugger. Can't make that. So I should probably request that you bring it to one of the like cons or something like that we do, because I really do want to give it a go and see if it lives up to kind of my expectation of what I had in my head. But you guys always talk kind of glowingly about it between games. So
I think you'd enjoy it, because it's not that, it's not because it's not heavy, but I just, knowing the games you like and the style of play that you like, I think it would be up your street, but who knows with you?
Yeah, you never know how things will land. But it is
Let's
one that I've watched playthroughs. Like, I watched playthroughs when it first got launched and thought this will be a good game. I'm going to enjoy this sort of thing. And I nearly bought it at launch. And then you were like, a few months later, I think you sort of picked it up. And I was like, oh, that's good. I get to play that. We're a year and a bit on and I still haven't played it.
I picked it up as a whim.
Yeah.
I just thought, it looks quite cool. And I think I watched a video and I thought, let's give it a go. And it wasn't expensive. So it was like, it's not that great. I'll just sell it on. I'm not selling it on. It's good.
Yeah, I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
No, it has pride of place on the shelf now. So
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And it's not, the box isn't even that big as well. That's the beauty.
Yeah. Is it a nice box?
Yeah, going on to later. Ooh.
Is it a nice box though?
It's all right.
No? It's not too big, not too small?
It's thin.
It's a thin box.
It's a thin box.
Oh, fair dues.
So, yeah.
That's right
it's
then.
quite nice. It's Kallax friendly.
Sure. Oh, good.
Yeah.
You can stack a few of them.
You can get a few games in, and then you can put Beyond the Sun at the top, and it just slivers straight in.
Heresy.
Oh,
absolute heresy.
Yeah, it's because I'm a horizontal stacker, not a vertical stacker. Ooh.
I'm a horizontal stacker.
Good man.
No. Why? How am I outnumbered?
I've only got really big boxes though, so it's fine.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. You get two in either way.
I get like one in, and then I go, I can't really fit anything else in there. I have to do. So that's fine.
There we go. The age-old debate. Sorry, mate. Go on.
Yeah, no worries. How about you then, Adrian? What have you been up to?
Well, one of the things I've been up to is printing out a 3D printed insert for White Castle, which has been quite fun because, again, it's one of those games that, as I say, don't really fit back in the box.
I was going to say the game or the restaurant?
No, not the restaurant. I forget that it's a thing, the restaurant White Castle.
We don't have them in this country,
Yeah, we don't. It's a...
Oh, do we? No, we don't.
No, we don't.
It's an American
It's an American reference. And I found a 3D printed file. I did what I always do, which is I find some 3D printed files online and then realize that I don't quite like something about it. So I print half of the bits that I like off, and then I spend the rest of the time redesigning the rest of the insert that I've decided not to print off. And this one was horrible. It was, because it's such a small box, you've got so many bits to fit in it. It was really not a nice experience, but it felt like quite an achievement when I got to the end and it all worked out and everything slotted in the spots.
Everything fits just...
Everything, it does, literally just fits.
Nice.
So it's quite satisfying that. But what I really wanted to talk about was a game that I played recently called Cascadero. So Cascadero is a game by Reiner Knizia, and the artwork is done by Ian O'Toole. So it's a nice looking game, very sort of simple. It reminded me for some reason of Coimbra, and I think it's just because of the tracks on the right hand side of the board. So it kind of gave me that vibes. It doesn't play anything like it, but it just gave me that vibes when we took it out of the box. And having played Rebirth at Expo, knowing that's a sort of, you have a hex that you place on the board, and depending upon how you place them gives you points, and knowing that Cascadero is basically the same principle, is you've got a bunch of hexes that you place on the board. They're not hexes, they're little meeples of people on horses, but you place them on the hexes on the board, and depending upon where you put them will give you points, and then we'll put you up the tracks on the right or score you some achievements, which doesn't sound too crazy, sounds pretty standard. But there is there's some AP in this. Talking about zippy turns for yours, we had a few turns that really slowed down the game, and it's where I think Rebirth might, for me, slightly outpip Cascadero, because I didn't experience that with Rebirth. But the decision space is that much bigger. So if you do like your sort of crunchy, just sort of tile placement games almost, there's a lot here. So what you're trying to do is, on your turn, you're literally going to take one of your little horse person meeples, and you're going to just put it on a hex. Now, if the one you put down links two of the... So most of the hexes are like a beige colour. If you link the two that are different colours, you go up on those coloured tracks. And everyone starts with a colour. So, for instance, I was the farmers, so I was yellow. So I wanted yellow to go up to the top. If I don't get to the top of the yellow tracker, I don't score any points at the end of the game. You are locked out. So you could have the best engine working in the world, but if you haven't got your farmers, who you're kind of the patrons of, I'm guessing, right to the top, you're not going to score any victory points. After that, once everyone's kind of got to the top, which happened in our game, everyone got to the top, I think you'd have to kind of be playing quite janky to not get to the top of your particular one because of how the board state set starts off. But I think so, yeah, so everyone got to the top of their relevant tracks, and then it was about points. And each part of the track will either say, now place another horse, or gain some victory points, or you can move a horse and stuff like that. Now, the little sort of wrinkle in it is that I'm trying to think of how best to describe this when you can't see the board, because it's quite tough. So if on one side of the hex you had two of your horses linking to another hex, that would score you 2 points for one hex and 2 points, or 2 lots for the other hex, probably. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And then if you, on the complete opposite side of the hex, they're not touching, took 2 horses, and so it touched the other hex on the other side, you would then get another 2 of each. If at any point those link up, it counts as the same group, so you don't score the one that it's already touching. So you need to try and create lots of separate groups, but nearly all the achievements are about you joining them all up. So to go up the track, you want to keep them all separate. To get the achievements, you want to keep them all as a group. And the other little wrinkle is that you get more points if you're the second or third or later person to link this hex. So really what you want to do is wait for someone else to link this hex up and then come in and join your 2 hexes up. And that gives you more points up the track. Yeah, there's all these like little wrinkles and stuff that make it quite an interesting game, because so one of the players was going for this big mass of like he was just going for like a big mass through the middle, linking up as many hexes as he could to score loads of the big achievements. And there are a lot of points if you can link up all of them, or like 2 of every single colour. And that's what he was going for. Now, what he left himself was this little bridge in the middle that I blocked, and it meant that he came last because he couldn't
it wasn't
link everything
connected.
up.
Yeah, wow.
Whereas And the person who won did sort of 2 rough areas that were linking a lot of things together, but in 2 distinct parts. What I did was the complete opposite of all of that. So I came second with I'm only by 2 points with this tactic, which was I was just linking up the ones that gave me the biggest boost up all the tracks, so that I was scoring points for going up as many of the tracks as possible. And the fact that I only came up 2 points afterwards made me feel like that's a genuinely legitimate tactic.
Yeah, fair.
Rather than just trying to link all of these different coloured hexes together, which I think is probably the route that most people will think of doing originally. I just saw everyone else doing it. I was the last player in turn order and was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else. And just try to rocket up as many of these tracks as possible. And it really does work. But the problem is with Rebirth, when you pick up a hex, it'll tell you this is a power or this is a farm, and you have to place it on a matching type of hex. With Cascadero, you've got your horse and you can place it anywhere you like amongst like 200 hexes or whatever is on this board. It's a lot of hexes. And obviously there's going to be most turns there's going to be an obvious choice, an obvious 2 or 3 choices. But sometimes, especially towards the end of the game, you're like, right, I've got 3 of these left. I can hook up these 2 or this one, or I can... And it gets really crunchy and the game's slowed down just a little bit too much for my liking. Still thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think it's where I've been thinking about picking up Rebirth when it gets to retail, and I think I'm probably still going to do it because I enjoyed Cascadero that much. But there was AP, which I don't think will be in Rebirth. They're not exactly 1 for 1 because you haven't got tracks and that in Rebirth, but it felt very similar, and it's a Reiner Knizia game, so it felt like it was going to fill the same niche. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense to people listening, because even I was struggling to work out how to explain this game in my head. But it's the new hotness, like it's newish. The Kickstarter only landed like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people will probably be playing this that backed it if they're Reiner Knizia fans of not necessarily his auction games, but of his sort of tile placement games. I think there'll be a few people that really like this out there. It's because I think it's got quite a few little options, but you've got to be prepared that if someone takes a long time on their turns, they're going to get sort of bogged down in some of the detail.
Yeah, that's cool. I quite like some of his games. I've only really played Babylonia. Yeah, that's the only one that kind of springs to mind from Reiner Knizia. I've not really played any others, so I'll have to play more.
Yeah, I'd only sort of played or watched a lot of his auction games, so I'd kind of written him off a bit as a designer of one, because I don't really like that in a game, or certainly the way he applies them to games. And I know he's very popular, so it's just my taste thing rather than anything being broken.
I mean, if you don't like one of his games, he's probably got another 19,000 that you might like.
But a lot of them have kind of key things they've got in them. I know that they're not all because he's got that many games, but a lot of them, he seems to go through a run of doing this kind of game, and it seems like he's on a bit of a sort of a hex placement game, although the Iliad, which is on Kickstarter at the moment, looks like a battler with just big chunky square pieces, and I'm sure that's on Kickstarter at the moment. But yeah, no, thoroughly enjoyed it. Was glad that my friend bought their copy round, because they're in the Kickstarter phase, you know, that thing where you back everything.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
So that's not just like a 2022 phase where people are just, you know, backing everything that comes out because they can't leave the house.
I think that's when JP had his phase.
Yeah, I had my phase a lot then, yeah.
But as I had that phase, I think a lot of people in the board game hobby will have had that phase where they just back everything. And I think they're still sort of middle. Maybe they might have reached the peak and kind of coming down the other side of it. But that still means they've got 2 years probably of board games turning up that they've kickstarted, one a week or whatever it is they're kickstarting at the moment.
It's called Kickstarter Christmas with a K. And you can kind of reap the benefits of your madness from about 2 years ago. And they were just like every month dropping through the door. And it's like, this is great. But yeah, at some point you've just got to stop doing it because it costs a fortune. Yeah,
especially when they all come at once. And you go, oh look, that's an expensive month.
Yeah, whoops. But there we go.
What about you, Chris?
Well, me, it was a little while ago now, probably about 3 weeks or so, because I've been just busy with trying to do loads of doing the house up and stuff. But Tambo invited me and my brother to play Marvel Zombies for the first time. I'd say I've never played it before. It's the premise of Zombicide, but flipped. So you've got, obviously, you play as the zombies and you're attacking humans, but you play as the superheroes. So you've got like zombified, like Deadpool, Wasp, Iron Man, Hulk, etc. And you just go around, you get various objectives. You need to defeat X number of heroes, like Doctor Strange or Spider-Man will come swinging in, kind of thing, and you have to defeat those. knock out a couple of like civilians as well, and then make your way to an escape, and then that's it. So I don't know how much the game's been explained before. I know Tambo's probably mentioned it before because it was his copy anyway, and he's he loves it. He plays it quite frequently with his family. But yeah, so you can use obviously all the main heroes' sort of abilities, like range attacks and stuff like that. Once you've done their attacks and things, eventually you start getting hungry to the point where you need to start eating people as well. If you don't eat people, eventually you become what's classed as ravenous, where you can only move and eat. You can't do any of your actual special abilities that make you good. Also, the eating sort of action is one of the weakest sort of attacks that you can do, and you can normally only do it against sort of base rubbishy sort of units kind of thing. So it becomes quite difficult, and if you don't do that, then you take damage, and eventually you die. There's no way of actually healing yourself in that game. So you've got like 6 health, and once that's it, that's gone. Okay. So it's quite cool. I think we played it in one evening. We played it 3 times, the same level 3 times, because someone, me, did something stupid, like left my hero on like a spawn point, and then the enemies activated twice. So they activated and spawned, and then activated, and I died.
Classic Zombicide.
I was about to say that sounds like Zombicide. I remember, yeah.
So then I was like, oh, okay, well, we're just seeing as we're only about 4 turns in, let's just wipe and just start again. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, do you want to swap heroes? Oh, maybe I'll play Iron Man. Okay, I'll swap some heroes around and play again. And then I did something stupid again, and it's like, oh, this is just...
It's a running theme here, mate.
Yeah, it's like 3rd time lucky. Eventually, we actually did it, so it was really good. Got to the point where I enjoyed it so much that for the last few weeks since playing it, I have been looking to buy it. And yesterday, it came up on Zatu for about 40 quid. And I thought, oh, really? That'll do. 60% off from like 100 quid. I was like, thank you very much. I'll take it.
Nice.
Like 100 odd minis for 40 quid.
Bargain.
I'll take it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No. Well, please, good purchase. Should be arriving tomorrow.
Nice. So... does it feel different to like standard Zombicide? Like, is it kind of still feel Zombicide?
It still feels very Zombicide. Yeah. It is just, it gets to the point where there's so many things on the board where you're just going to go, right, I need to go in this one direction because I've got a horde chasing me kind of thing. And you just have to just sort of go for it. Your heroes don't feel at all overpowered. You are very much on the weaker end of things. I don't know how much of a difference that is to the original Zombicide. Obviously, they are quite weak. Obviously, your actual main players that you actually have. So I think it mirrors it quite nicely, but it is obviously just a complete actual reverse of it, where you play as the bad people rather than the good people.
I think my experience of Zombicide when I was kind of into it was you start off weak as piss, and then obviously you start mowing a few people down and start unlocking some of those abilities, getting some better loot, minigun shows up or whatever, and then suddenly you're just badass. Like you probably get to a point where you're probably a bit too powerful and you're just literally mowing things down. So is there a similar kind of leveling mechanic in Marvel Zombies then? Where, because I can't remember, it's been such a long time, you have like a yellow, orange and red zone.
Blue, yellow, orange, red.
It. And yes, when you kind of cross those, the more people you kill, or maybe in this one, is it you eat or something? You just get better.
Yeah, it's kills or eating. They'll still get you XP kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, obviously once one player reaches the threshold of like they've gone from yellow to orange, the rest of the game steps up quite quickly. So if someone hasn't leveled up their heroes and got some good abilities, they can be on the back foot a little bit quite quickly.
Yeah, when you've got one player in the orange and everyone else is in the blue.
Yes.
And you're like here we go. This game's over now, right?
Yeah, you're very strong and powerful. I am very weak and puny. Help me, please.
And do the hero, like the true heroes, do they act like the Abominations then? Are they that kind of similar big unit that's going to cause havoc? But I'm assuming they're a bit asymmetrical. So if Spider-Man's coming in, who's not zombified, because you're the zombified dudes, right? Then he's going to act differently to insert another hero here. I can't remember which one you said.
Yeah, so when we were playing it, Doctor Strange was the sort of main guy, but he was mainly acting more of a spawn point, where he does the whole sort of spinny ring and making portals. Yeah. So he was having him alive was causing more enemies to spawn per turn.
Okay.
So you take him out as quickly as you can, really, just to limit the number of spawning. And then it was just like events come through. It's like, oh, you've just gone over here, or someone's reached a level cap. An event suddenly happened. Oh, look, now Spider-Man's turned up. And he will join a certain wave of enemies when they come in. I think we also had Miss Marvel popped in at some point, and she had obviously like ranged this kind of thing. It's being stretchy. And yeah, so it worked really nicely, I think. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. I liked it. And with that out of the way, we can now move on to our main turn. Okay, so today's topic of discussion is, does size matter in board games?
In board games, people.
That is bait.
Yeah. So, do big games provide bragging rights levels of enjoyment, or do they make you wish they knew how to use their tools better? Do small games hit the spot or leave you wanting more? First things first, I think we should probably establish.
Sexual, didn't you?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so first things first, I think we should establish what makes a game big or small. Is it the trousers that you wear or the thing you put on it?
It's a great question, because I was thinking about this. What makes a big game a big game? Is it the feeling you get, or is it its physical size that it sits on the shelf, you know? Because you can have big games physically that don't pack a punch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You small games that really do pack a punch for what you get in there. So yeah, I'm not going to come with an answer on this, because I think the answer is it depends.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just more of a try to gauge sort of where we're sitting on what's big, what's small. Are we talking content makes big, amount of stuff that you get with the game big? How big is it when you put it on the table? Does it take up more than half the size of the table? That makes it big, kind of thing. Or vice versa for small stuff. Is it something that you can just have sitting in front of you and you alone? Does that make a game small? Or if you've obviously got more than one person, 2 or 3 people having the same sort of level size board in front of them, does that make the game small? So yeah, that's kind of where we're going to start with.
My feeling on that, I suppose my answer on this is, if at any point I'm setting up the board game and I have to think, where do I put this sort of thing?
That's a good call. Yes, exactly.
Of trying not to make it sexual at the same time, but
liar.
If you sort of go to put down, not necessarily a player board, but maybe there's like a second sideboard, like the scoreboard or something like that, and you're like, where? Okay, maybe I'll move the main board over this way. If I have to do that, normally I'm starting to think that this board game is a little bit of a table hog and a little bit sort of a big game, regardless of whether it's like a complicated game or whatever it is, or big miniatures or just very nice components. All of that kind of stuff I think can add to that feel. But normally if I'm setting up and I'm like, I need to either get the table extender, if you've got the dining room table that has a middle that you like open up and put the table extender in the middle, or if it's just a game where you're just like, I need to figure out where to put this. Do I get like a little sideboard table?
When side tables come out,
all of those kind of things make me think, this is turning into like, this is a big game.
Yeah, I mean, what's just sprung to my mind when you was talking there is games that are event games. So your Twilight Imperiums, your Game of Thrones, obviously they're big in the fact that they take a long time to get through. And I'm saying that's a bad thing. It's not. I like it.
Just not campaigns.
No, just not campaigns. I don't mind it in one shots, or even 2 or maybe 3 shots. But any more than that, I'll start to lose interest, as we know. Don't make me rant again.
No.
But yeah, I think, and I think like the Twilight Imperiums where you've got 6+ players and you have to get side tables up. You have to. There's nowhere for this stuff to fit.
Not just that, you have to take a break.
Yeah, and you need like a good Sunday roast in the middle just to get through it, So that's kind of what I feel as well is a big game. Yeah.
Yeah, so my initial thought, I had 2 initial thoughts. I'll talk about the other one in a second. But my initial thought of when I was looking at the shelf was War Room.
Yes.
Because War Room doesn't fit on most common dining room tables in the UK.
Absolutely
it will fit, but the board will lap because it's a circular board. It will cut off the edge.
Just peeks off the edge.
Just peeks off the edge. And that's just the main board. Then you need all your personal panels that tell you which countries you own because it's World War II. Then you need a battle board. Then quite often, really, what you need is a second room that has the reference chart on it so that because you determine simultaneously what everyone's doing, but you need to have the chat about what the Allies doing, what the Axis doing. So really, you need a second room
for everyone to go in and think about,
with a small table on it so that while the Axis are looking at the big board and all that, you can at least go off and have a bit of a conversation because the Allies can't be in the same room at the same time as the Axis and vice versa while they're deciding that.
Oh, right, okay. I've never heard of that sort of concept. That's cool.
So, which was the same in Axis and Allies, really. Like, you kind of had to have a bit of discussion time, but because it wasn't all simultaneous actions, you could come up with you kind of just could have a bit of a whispered conversation in the corner. Whereas War Room, because everything's happening at once, you need to be super planned up. You need to be there with your little little whiteboards that you put all your orders on. So so not only do you have a main dining room table, which that's not even the jumbo version. You can buy a jumbo version where you have the little unit pushers, as JP likes
the
to call them.
little sticks. Oh, amazing!
I love a unit pusher.
And then you have to have a place for all of your country-specific stuff. Then you have to have a place for the battle boards where you roll all your dice and you put all the units on when they're in a battle. And then you have to have a second room. Like, that's a big game.
I would class that as a big game. Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So that was the first one I thought of. The second one I thought of was Bandido.
As a big game?
Yeah.
Oh, because it sprawls.
Yeah, it's massive. You couldn't take that to a convention without probably running off a table, because convention tables are quite thin.
Thin and long.
Compared to dining room tables. So con tables are they're thin, aren't they? Whereas dining room tables are wider.
Yeah.
And the number of times on a full-size dining room table, we've had to pull we'll move it all this way a bit. We'll move the whole network of these tunnels that you're laying out in cards over to one side so we can keep tunneling out in that direction. The number of times I've done that, and yet it comes in a box that's
tiny.
I'm trying to think.
Like a Saboteur box.
Like a couple of packets of cigarettes stacked on top of each other.
Like an Uno size box.
Tiny little box, but because it's so sprawling as a game,
it goes on
quite regularly.
On,
Especially when you first play it. Like as you get more adept at playing the game, you kind of condense a little bit. But the first few times we played it, I had like a neoprene mat, and I was pulling one side of the neoprene mat off the table just to move everything towards me so we could keep going with building the tunnels.
Weird though, because that one doesn't, for me, doesn't register as a big game.
It doesn't feel like a big game, does it?
No.
But it is a big game. You need if someone said, oh, I'm going camping, you could say, it's a small box.
Yeah.
And maybe
you ain't doing that anywhere, are you?
Yeah, you'd have to crawl across the ground, kind of putting all the tiles on
an uneven tent floor.
It could take up the whole tent floor if you've got like a little 2-man tent sort of thing.
Yeah.
Goes outside.
It'd have to be on concrete though, wouldn't it, for it to be level?
Yeah,
Let's be fair. All those cards all wangling around.
So it is a big. If you're talking about footprint, it is a big game because it takes up so much space. Despite the fact that it's a little game that doesn't feel big, it doesn't feel epic. It just takes up table space. So if someone said to me, "What's a big game footprint wise?" that's one of the first ones I thought of.
I think the other things like are big games in terms of weight and also box sizes just spring into mind. So, the Mind Clash games nowadays, the big ones, they're big chunky boxes that take up half a Galax.
Yeah.
Right? So they feel big because they are big. They're freaking heavy. They, to transport around, and they feel like, and you get that feeling from me as well as a big experience. And then usually by the end of the night, you're like, I'd have to have a cigarette. Keeping the theme, guys. Yeah. I'm keeping the theme.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we had a good time.
Yeah. Nice. Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a good time. I need to put my feet up, toes up and all that. But yeah, those feel for me, they're like big games.
Yeah.
They're also probably big because they're popular as well. They're kind of famous for being big. Certain games are they kind of expected to be big, so that's what we do. It's the fact that Mind Clash comes out with, we got a teeny tiny small box game. It's weird, doesn't feel right because it's not on usually their brand, right?
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to play with as well. Certain publishers will lean into it hard because they know that a lot of the gamers and their fans will expect big box experience or big game experiences. But again, not like one's right or wrong. It's just what they find popular in it. But yeah.
One of the ones I've just thought about, which is kind of the latest hotness that's running through our group, is Primal. Because you talked about Calyx cubes. It doesn't fit inside a Calyx cube, which is really annoying.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's just twigged with me. Yeah, you've just got that as well, haven't you?
Yeah. It's about 3 inches too wide for a Calyx cube.
You can't get it in.
So you can't put it in a Calyx cube. It doesn't fit.
That's it. All right, throw it away.
So
sell it to Rob.
Yeah, he'd love that.
I think it'd be round in 10 seconds. Sorry, did someone say something?
There is a sign up now for the game coming out.
I saw your message earlier.
Yeah, so there is. So he should be happy, hopefully, with that. Rather than trying to pinch my copy.
Yeah, to buy your own, you bugger.
Yeah. But
bloody tea leaf.
On the table, really, the board itself is only the size of a regular sized board, and your little player board is smaller than most player boards in games. But because of all the miniatures, like the box, if you look at it on the side, it's massive because it doesn't fit in the calyx, so it's sitting on top of the smaller calyx I've got. So it looks impressive, big white box. But when you put it out on the table, it feels epic because you've got a big monster in the middle and these big sort of anime-esque sort of Monster Hunter-y characters on the board. So it feels like, and it looks epic, but it's not big, doesn't take up footprint space. And I found that quite almost jarring because, as you say, kind of if you see a big box, you expect a big game to come out of it. And it was like, and I knew this because I backed it. And when I backed it, I knew that it was a small footprint. But it's a small footprint game inside a very big box. So it's kind of the opposite of Bandido.
It is.
No, yeah, I thought exactly the same thing when I played it with Davey and Rob. It is literally Davey is decided that he didn't want to just pack it away nicely. It's everywhere. There's like 7 boxes scattered around this office that he's got, and it's everywhere. And he goes, "I'm just going to go to find this thing," and then he disappears for like 5 minutes, then comes back. I found the thing that I was after. It was the forge, well, the next fire forge, or that I was after. And you go, okay. Well, we need the wind one. Do you want to go look again? And he goes, all right, okay, we'll go in. And then off he goes again. There's a lot there, but as you say, it's for space on the table, it fits really nicely, but there's just a lot of boxes. Right then, okay. So that was quite a few examples of some big games that take up a lot of space, either, as you say, footprint or storage-wise.
Or from your wallet.
or your wallet, yeah, geez. What about an example of a small game?
Yeah.
Something that takes up very little space. What is a small box or a really big box that's literally nothing?
Yeah, well, I don't know if this kind of fits, but a small box game that packs a punch is Far Away for me. And
I've not heard of Far Away.
It's a game I wouldn't expect. Adrian was talking about this thing since Essen, going on about it. All right, Adrian, calm down. He even queued Miss Pizza nearly to get
I
this
was right again.
He was right in this case, because you look at it and you just go, nah. Like for me, like because of my style of game and my play of game, my kind of choice is usually the bigger stuff, right? So naturally, I'm not that interested in smaller box games. They don't really scratch an itch for me. So I ended up getting a copy bought for my birthday. And here you go, it's Far Away. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll get to play it. Thinking I'll probably play it once or twice and, is what it is. And it'll probably go into my little Kallax drawer of many small box games and they'll get wheeled out, with family and stuff. So it was always useful to have a bunch of them. And then we played it and my brain melted, right? Literally just melted. I just went, what the hell is this game? And it's not complicated, but your first play of it is like, I have no idea how this works. And then until you play your first game, you go, and it's because of the scoring in it. It's the way you play cards from left to right, but you score them from right to left. And you got to sequence things in the right way for you to do well. And yeah, it's just fun for what it is. The footprint is really not that big. It's 8 cards that are square in your little area, plus the
shrines. Yeah,
and the shrine cards that you kind of get, but also the cards you draft in the middle, which is only temporarily, and then you're taking them off. That's it. And for a small box game, gives you kind of a bigger game feel. So that's why I like it.
and to be fair, because I know why you guys didn't immediately be like, oh, because it looks like a quirky small box, kind of maybe French or maybe sort of Spanish kind of
bit family.
Style. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I can put this in front of my family.
No, I probably wouldn't.
I think I could.
It melted your brain. God save them. Yeah, exactly.
It's about, so the core concept is the fact that really what you want is to get all the good shrines, to get shrines, which you have to have, you want the smallest number on the left and the biggest number on the right, and that's the order you want to follow. But all the cards that you want to score the latest, i.e. furthest to the left, have the highest numbers on them. From an end of game scoring point of view, you want the largest numbers on the left and the smallest numbers on the right. So you have to decide where to break it and change where your numbers are going to kind of come in. And that's the real basic puzzle of it. That's what I tell everyone when I'm teaching it now. It seems to help them with it. The one that comes to me as a smaller box game with a lot in it is probably the one that I think Far Away is slowly displacing, which is Furnace.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Furnace is very similar feels, I think, to Far Away with the having the order of things, and if you don't do your auctiony bits in the right order when you get compensation, which is what happens if you lose, if you haven't got the stuff you need, which sometimes you won't have because you've won the card instead of getting the compensation or whatever, that you've then mucked up your order and you've then kind of mucked up your turn, really. And Furnace does that. It's a smallish box game. It's kind of that, like the original Carcassonne box, Baron Park, Furnace, that kind of small, middle-sized kind of Century and all that kind of stuff, that size. But inside it really is a game that I think is not heavyweight, but it feels closer to like mid-heavyweight in feel and in look, to be fair. I've bought the neoprene mat, which I very rarely do normally, and slowly I'm buying more and more neoprene mats, so that's my changing behaviour. But with the mat out and then this sort of your run of cards, it doesn't take up a lot of table space, but it feels bigger than it is. It feels like a crunchier game for that little box size. So if we're talking about that kind of feel, I think that's right. I think that's my one. But I also think it has a lot in common with the style of game that is Furnace and Far Away. I feel like they've got a lot of overlap in how they feel, not mechanically, not graphically, nothing like that, just how they feel.
A crunchy experience for what you get as a very quick setup. You know, you're playing within minutes, and the game doesn't take an age. It's done in under an hour, you know, and you feel like, that was a good experience. That was a good play.
Yeah, I think I've played it. I just wanted to double check. So Furnace is it like the 18th or 19th century one where you were building like factories, or is that? I think there's another one called Ironworks. It might be very similar.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know that it's factories. It is kind of that sort of Age of Steam Revolution.
Yes, I'm fairly certain I have played it,
cards,
but that's what I was thinking. When you say cards and you can flip them to get the upgrades. And
that's
stuff.
it. So you get a 1 disc, a 2 disc, a 3 disc, a 4 disc, and you're putting them on the cards in the middle.
Definitely that one. That's the one I played. Then that's fine. That was good.
If you get the highest, you win the card. If you get lower, you get compensation. But you work left to right. So sometimes I've gone in with a 3 disc thinking I'm winning this, and no one will go for it. Or someone will put a 4 in and then you're getting compensation. Or sometimes you'll put a 3 in thinking...
You want the compensation.
Like someone's going to want this card. I'm going to get 3 of the compensation, and then no one goes for it and you're stuck with a card. And then the next one you wanted compensation for, you now don't have what required. And that's that Far Away feel, I think.
Your chain breaks.
Yeah, it just breaks and you're like, oh. And that's Furnace.
Yeah, when I played that, it was very much I was always betting on the thing that I wanted and then never winning it.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Happens a lot more than I think people are going to think.
Or I go, no one really is going after it anyway, I'll go for it. And then there's a reason why.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the smallest game that I own. I'm thinking that whilst you're talking, what is the smallest game that I own? And I think it might be Kyrie the Jewel, which I mentioned on the Expo episode. It literally comes in a cloth pouch and it has about 13 cards in it. That's it.
Sorry, with our theme, I don't think you want to be talking about coming in a cloth pouch.
I'm allowed to, if I want to.
As long as he fits in it, it's fine.
Yeah, 13 cards, this game. Don't quote me on that, people, but it doesn't have a lot. And the card stock is that kind of plasticky feel as well. So this thing's going to last an age. And for those that don't know what it is, very quickly, it's just a dueling samurai card game. It plays in 5 minutes, and you're done. And me and my son play it a lot. He's just too good at it. He wipes the floor with me every time. And you kind of have like 2 lives, basically. You get hit once, out, you're nearly dead. You get hit again, you're dead. And you're kind of moving back and forth on this battlefield, which is like a 2D battlefield. A bit like Samurai Showdown in that respect, if you've ever played that game. Less complicated because you're just playing cards. But you switch stances, you're going for... certain attacks that you have to be 1 away or 2 away, and you're moving forward and back, and it's all that kind of bit of programming. But smallest game I own, I think that is the one that literally setup is seconds, your play is 5 minutes, done. Put your pouch away.
I think the smallest game I own is it's probably Cluster.
Yes.
It's just a bag with some magnets in it. That's all it is.
It comes in a box. Don't need the box.
Don't need the box. It's just a bag.
The bag. Yeah.
With some magnets in it. So that works a treat.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it looks dodgy when it's going through airport security.
If stacked.
Oh, yes.
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 Looks like, keeping on theme, looks like a sex toy.
Because that was what Becky had, wasn't it? Where they made her open her suitcase because she had cluster in her suitcase.
The thing is, he showed us the X-ray picture, and everyone, like, she was saying she was stopped because it looked like a sex toy. I thought it looked like a gun because I could literally see the trigger, and I think that might have been something else.
Yeah.
It just looked like a gun.
Just the way it was laid out, you're like, Becky, what have you got in your bag? Jesus.
So my mind didn't go down the perverty, smutty route, which is unusual for me, but... Yeah, I was like, oh my God, it's a gun. And she's like, what? No, it's a dildo.
It's not, it's magnets.
Yes.
It's the forward of magnets. My thought of what my smallest one would be was originally Viking Seesaw.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of that pickup sticks, sort of, or like a box of dominoes. It's kind of that size-ish, isn't it? A bit smaller than that, in fact. And again, that is a very small field game. It's a tiny little teeter-totter with different weighted pieces that you're putting on it. But then I realised I've got about 5 button-shy games. And
there you go.
They are definitely smaller. So kind of like, is it Kirai, your samurai game? It's 12 or 14 cards inside, and this is probably a UK reference, inside a bus pass.
Right. Yes.
You know the little plastic wallets you got when you got
over.
Yeah. Again, I grew up in sort of London area, so Oyster cards used to always come in these little plastic wallets, and that's what it comes in, is one of these little plastic wallets with a bunch of cards in, and they are all light to medium light field games. Tussie Mussy and Sprawlopolis, the two I can think of off the top of my head. Circle of Wagons. They're not very heavy games. They don't really necessarily have a lot to them. But when you can put 6 or 7 in your pocket, if you particularly like, certainly in a coat pocket or something like that, quite happily, and you could play 6 or 7 very quick games in a day or whatever in an afternoon, that's fine for me. But it is that they are very small, small games with a small feel as well.
So I'm going to throw some little spanner in the works. Where does Gloomhaven, Button and Bugs land then? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, so it's obviously the super miniaturized version.
Teeny,
you can like play it on you can play it on like a plane table, can't you? Like an airplane when they fold down in front of you, that size table.
The dungeon map is a card.
I've never played it, so I can only go on speculation. And if it's anything to do with anything like the actual proper Gloomhaven, it's probably a mid. It's probably, because Gloomhaven is, even though while it takes up a lot of space, it's not, I wouldn't really class it as a big game.
Would you not?
Not really.
Depends on your definition.
The majority
of
the scenarios are reasonably small, or the tiles, when you connect them all together and it all fits quite nicely, it all fits sort of in the middle of a table, rather than, doesn't really overflow, doesn't push back. The game's not particularly overly complex. And that's obviously, but you do get a lot with it. So if you're talking about, literal size of box, it's a big game. If you're talking about the amount of stuff that you get with it, it's a big game. But complexity-wise and how it lays out on the table, I think it's more of a mid. It's sort of middle.
Yeah, I mean, footprint, it's not too bad. Yeah, you're right. And Buttons and Bugs, footprint is teeny. It's
just this little, So it's probably, if you sort of flip the aspects around, it's very small, but there's probably a fair amount going on there. But again, I've never played it, so I can't actually put in some sort of valid opinion. I'm just going on based of that it's Gloomhaven, so it's probably got something pretty nice in it.
That's the thing, when you look big versus small, it really just depends on the definition, isn't it? So box size, footprint.
So have you guys seen Terrascape?
Heard of Terrascape, not seen it.
The new, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I saw it at the 12-hour event when the first Kickstarter landed, and it's like a horror. I think one side's trying to escape and the other side's trying to hunt and all that lot. But it's got like a big manor.
Oh yes, I have seen.
Like in the middle,
like a 3D manor that sits there.
And
that sounds cool.
And it stops you seeing the other side of the board, and people put their cards and that on top so they can see what you're doing and stuff like that. And it looks immense. But when I went, they were playing it on the smallest table, because really, I say the smallest table, but because everything's built into this kind of one board in the middle that's just got this massive manor looking thing in the middle of it. Its footprint looked weirdly small, but its table presence was so much bigger because of this kind of divider in the middle.
Yeah.
And it caught my eye there. And then when I saw there was a second printing, I'll be honest, I've been doing a bit more research on it, and I'm trying not to be tempted to get it because I don't know how much it is for me. But the table presence on it is amazing. But again, footprint, like not the smallest footprint, but relatively it's a small footprint for how big it looks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't know whether you guys had kind of clocked it or not, because
now you said what it explained it. I have seen many pictures of this thing, but never looked at it.
And I think it does that thing. It's a bit like the Descent 3D version of it. Is the footprint isn't necessarily the biggest. Sometimes it is, but quite often it's not. It's just the fact that because it's tall, because you build up the levels for Descent in the third edition, it's
got height,
the
which
table
is rare.
presence.
It's not very, very often you get off the table, as in the flatness, so you're going up.
So, and that was when we first talked about this thing. I was like, I wonder, it'd be cool to talk about that, because so few board games do it, where it adds height to add table presence. And God forbid, I'm going to talk about Everdell and the stupid tree, but I think that's pointless. Apart from the fact that it gives the game table presence, because that tree is not needed. The footprint size is medium. Everything else in it is kind of that medium Euro game. And then they stuck this stupid great tree on the
distract him. Quick.
But it gives you table presence, right? It gives you that elevation that makes the game look bigger and more epic than actually it really is. And it's the same with, I've got a funny feeling that's the same with Terrascape as well. Is I think if it looked less off the table, you wouldn't have got so many people kind of looking at it. But that kind of produces a bit of hype, because people, I did it. I walked past this table at 12-hour event and went, what the hell is that? Like, I haven't seen anything like it before. And they're like, oh, it's a Kickstarter that's just come out, and it's like a horror, like running away in a mansion or something along those lines. I was like, that looks awesome. Don't know if it's for me, but it does look really good.
Yeah. I think the same sort of feeling as Apex Legends, where you've literally got 3D terrain with buildings on buildings on buildings. So you've got that verticality in the tactical shooter. And I don't think, if you had the same game and it was all flat, it would functionally work the same. Like, literally, of course it would. It's literally squares.
Yep.
But because you have literally the height, you can feel like you're tucked into a corner. You can feel like you're moving around. I really want to play this game on a big, massive Lazy Susan, so that you can literally just
spin it around
and have a look at all the angles and just figure it out. And see, can I see you? Can I peek around the corner? I don't think you need to, but it's I think it's that feeling of big, because it looks big, it looks tall,
as you say, it would have the same. It wouldn't have the same. Obviously, not going to have the same type of presence on the table. But if it was just flat and you've got lines indicating where a building is, etc., you'd be like, instead of, as you say, spinning it around and actually trying to look at the angles, you'd just be going, I just need a ruler, and can I see you? Yes, I can. Perfect. There we go. So, I get what you mean. Yeah,
it's weird, because I put Apex in a closer to tabletop wargaming, where I'm used to seeing all these buildings and that off the table and kind of the 3D-ness of it. It's not really that kind of game. It is closer to a board game than it is to a tabletop miniature game. But my brain always puts it in that classification. And a complete tangent, but a lot of war games have been trying to take the 3D nature out of it because of the line of sight problems, because you can do easier line of sight if everything is a flat 2D plane with just simple, this is blocking. So if you can't see through this bit of neoprene mat or whatever. So it's weird that it feels like board games are trying to make things more 3D than the last couple of years, and yet war games have been, for the most part, actively trying to reduce how much 3D terrain you put on the board and how many layers you have, because it makes line of sight, which is notoriously a sticky point in tabletop wargaming. It reduces the problems with that.
Yeah.
But that's why when you said Apex, I was like, I hadn't even thought of it, because in my head I've put it into kind
not
of
even the same camp. But
I've put it into kind of skirmish wargame rather than into tabletop game.
One of the other things I wanted to bring up would be games that you've got that are big, could you make them smaller? Are there things in the game that are unnecessary, that bulk it out, make it more of a problem, add in stuff that is, as you say, are unnecessary?
There are games that I would like to be smaller. I don't know how I would do it, though. Eclipse is one. 4-player Eclipse, fine.
Yeah.
Right? Any higher than that, doesn't matter how big that freaking table is, the side tables are out, or you're perching the tech tray on the side of the table, and some bugger's going to knock it off. And You know, you never, to Adrian's point, where I'm going to put this board in now. Crap, where does this go and where does that go? And you start running out of space. So that's one I'd like to condense somehow. And I think most 4Xs fall into that camp. The more players you have, it's just player boards are massive. Where does everything go? How do we fit in, this thing onto the table? And then that footprint just sprawls even worse. But yeah, I haven't got an answer.
No, I was thinking about, obviously, trying to put together the episode. I was thinking exactly the same thing. One of the things I thought of was playtime, how long it takes to play a game. One of the games that immediately came up to me is something that's very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts in this room. Well, I know at least one person's near to this in this room is JP. It's Too Many Bones. I've played that game 3 times. I've loved it so much, but why does it take so long to play?
Yeah, you're right.
You're right. Even we were doing 3-player games or 4-player games, every time we took it, it took 4-5 hours to play, and there's not that much going on, particularly. Really, hate to just really make people upset. There's not really that much going on with it. It's like, I'm doing a bit of a scenario. There's some enemies to fight. Yeah. Why is this taking me 5 hours to play? Is there any way that I can somehow reduce this time? Because if I can knock it down to, that's probably true actually. But if you could knock it down to a 3-hour, I think that would be, for me, that's perfect. I don't really want to spend more than 3 hours playing a game.
I mean, jokes aside, this is one of the reasons why I don't play it on a weeknight.
Yeah.
Right, and you might go, JP, you've nearly played this game like 85 times. I have. But I don't play it on a weeknight because of that reason. It goes on, it drags on. I don't say drags. I like it, so it doesn't matter.
I'm not dissing it in that fact. I love it. It's fantastic.
But you don't want to play till midnight
or
1:30 sometimes, and you go, I've got work the next day. So I agree. I completely agree. I think Too Many Bones is longer than it needs to be. And how could you fix that? Well, you fix that by playing with less players, obviously. Because actually 2-player, I still don't think you can get 2 players done in under 3 hours.
No.
Again, depending on which tyrant you're going up against. If you're going up against the shorter one, that's possible. But sometimes you want that like bigger experience. You want to kind of build your character up. You don't want to feel like you're shortchanged on leveling up your character. And you're like, we're at the boss now. And you're like, I'm kind of 25% of the way there. I want it to be at least 75 to have more options, But yeah, you're right.
I don't know if it's because of just the scenario that we played, or whatever it is every time we did it. Or there was a lot of combat, because obviously combat takes a big chunk. It's like 45 minutes of fight kind of thing. You could be facing sort of 3 enemies, but like big enemies, and you can knock them out pretty swiftly. You're facing a lot of little enemies.
You can stack the deck a little bit. So there's something that just popped into my brain. Like, because I own everything, there's a bad thing about owning pretty much everything, which is the amount of scenarios I've got. I don't know how many, loads. So you shuffle that big deck of scenarios, and if all of them are battle scenarios, it's going to take a long time. If all of them are passive scenarios, i.e. you do a little mini game where you're flicking some dice across and it's done in 5 minutes, then you're probably going to be done in like an hour.
Yeah.
So I think it's maybe like separating those into 2 decks and going, right, we're going to go for a half and half. 50-50, shuffle each and then shuffle them together, draw 4, whatever from each. And do it that way. So you know that you're going to get 4 battles and you're going to get 4 passives.
No, that's good.
And then that will shorten the playtime massively, because the battles is where the time goes. And because it's cooperative and you're trying to talk to each other and go, right, and it gets a bit crunchy in your brain on how you're going to figure the puzzle out, what's presented. Then, yeah, I think that could be... I've never even considered it. But now I'm actually like, why not? Why not do that? Because I'm still playing Bones, and I actually quite like the passives. And I think the last probably 5 games I've had, you're right, there haven't been that many that have been shuffled in. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Brilliant. There you go. I'm glad I could help in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Let's play it.
Okay, put it in the diary. Let's go on.
So we've talked about table footprint, and you've talked about time. When you asked this question, my thought went to production, because... And here's the hypocrite in me, right? Because I do like games with miniatures in. I've just backed Prime with massive monsters in and all this kind of stuff. But for the most part, when I look at a lot of games, I think that's overproduced.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to probably more box size, but just general cost and stuff like that, where I think it's too big. So haven't played it, but Foundations of Rome.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's massive, because there's all these chunky buildings in there. And I would love for them to do a little version.
That's flat tiles.
That's just flat tiles, like cardboard tiles. I would love, to be honest with you, what I'd love from Primal is to do cardboard standees as an option. So you've got big miniatures as an option, and you've got cardboard standees. They did it with Cthulhu Wars. So Cthulhu Wars has all these chunky, great big Cthulhu-y things. Mr. Wibbles,
your favourite,
in big chunky things, and then they produced the dual version with little cardboard standees. And I think to myself, well, you could probably do that with the bigger version as well, really, and reduce the cost down. But there are so many games that immediately came to my head that I was like, man, I would love just this version, less blinged up with less miniatures or less like chunky, like wooden or plastic pieces in them. That, again, I think it would reduce the table presence. It wouldn't necessarily reduce the footprint. It wouldn't reduce the time. It would reduce the cost, the box size, but ultimately it also, I think it would make less impact on a table or on a Kickstarter or something like that. But yeah, they were all of the ones I thought of immediately. I sort of was like, oh, that and that. And then I realized they're all production downsizing rather than footprint or time or anything like that, or complexity.
I'm digging the acrylic standees, you know. I quite like the look of an acrylic standee and the fact that it's all colour and it's vibrant, it pops, and you know, it does the same thing as a cardboard one, but you know it's going to last longer, and you're not going to get that bit with a cardboard standee where at the bottom,
because you keep taking them in and out.
Yeah, in and out of the little stand, it's going to start fraying at the bottom, and that does my head in.
The one thing you have to watch is if the acrylic's too thin, they start to curl. Yeah, which I don't like that. I'd rather have the wooden ones that have worn out a little bit.
Oh, let's get minis.
But yeah, let's just,
screw it. Let's just go for minis.
Get the biggest production we can. Yeah. But I do like some acrylic standees as well, like if they're in a chunky acrylic.
You're right about Foundations of Rome.
Yeah.
Like, it weirdly, and I've got no basis for this. I've got no grounds for this. Like you said, being a hypocrite, it pisses me off as a game. Like, because I'm like, it's massive. And maybe if I play it, I get it and go, oh, it's quite a grand experience or what you get. But I know it's not a big game.
It's a medium to light game.
Yeah.
And it's weird, isn't it? Because when you look at the games that have massive production, you expect them to either be like a Meritrash sort of storytelling games, or you expect them to be these big, heavy Lacerdas or Mind Clashes or something like that. You don't expect them to be like Quadropolis style sort of light, medium weight games. And it threw me completely when I was looking through, because I looked at a Kickstarter, and it threw me completely when I was like, wait, hold on. So this isn't going to take me 3 hours to play and have a 15-page rule book sort of thing. Like, oh, okay, that's weird. But yeah, all of them, whether they're big whether they're sort of big Ameritrashy style games, or whether they're kind of just sort of big production game, they're always the ones that I think, oh, I'd love to have just a very basic, cheap cardboard version of that to try. Because quite often, again, we're quite fortunate. Between our group and people we know, there's plenty of people out there who we can ask for a game of something if it's a bit sort of grandiose or expensive. But for the most part, I think a lot of people won't necessarily be in that position where they can go and buy £100 games and have a £100 game on the table every week, which sometimes does happen. We have quite a few weeks where there's at least £100 of game on the table every single week, and we're quite fortunate of that. But I'd love to see a smaller production for Kallax space and cost.
I'm with you. I think I've gone through that hump, and it might have been a Kickstarter thing where, oh, look at this bloody big box. It's great. Look at it. Oh, and now they're kind of just impractical. And, you know, and I look into the cupboard over there, and I'm going, right, I've got Anachrony, the Infinity box, right? Look, I love that game. But it's like, it's a big box, isn't it? And actually, sometimes that becomes a bit of a barrier. And you think, oh, I'll be arsed. Just because it's like it's massive and sprawling. And, you know, and I do think, you know, space on shelf is a commodity, and we talked about that in previous episodes. So I agree. If we can kind of get games back down to that standard size a bit more, whether it's crowdfunded or whatever, then touche. Like, let's not make these things massive, you know? Let's try and get more out of it.
Just make it an add-on. Or like an expansion that adds in a load of this stuff. Like, here's your basic version if you love it. And lots of Becky is our prime example in our podcast. Lots of people, if they find a game they really love, will buy all of the unnecessary, in air quotes, add-ons to make the game look bigger than it is or more grandiose or whatever from the base game. So I think there's a model in the industry for it. But I also appreciate that most people, if they see Kickstarters, they want the big box, they want the all-in experience, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of understand why a lot of publishers are behaving the way they behave, basically.
People buy them, so why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's just a lot of, obviously, window shopping for people. And that looks nice. Oh, it's very big, it's shiny, there's loads of stuff to it. Thank you very much, I'll take it. One big game that I would like to see smaller, I'd say, that I mentioned just a second ago, is Frosthaven. Obviously, it is the sort of follow-on from Gloomhaven. There is, again, so much included with it, so many bits and pieces, tiles, tokens, big massive box, massive map that takes up an entire table when you fold it out, etc. But one thing I think you could probably do without would be the entirety of the admin side about the town. I don't think you need that at all. I don't think it brings anything to the game, and it adds about 45 minutes or so onto the end of each time that you play it, because you've got to go, right now, do I have the resources to do this, blah, 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 blah. Whereas if you just take that out and just left it like it was originally, I don't think it changes the game. I think it is still the same. You can still keep the crafting in to do weapons and stuff like that, and money to buy stuff, etc. But actually doing up the town and the events and stuff that you get from it are pretty negligible. I don't think it brings much apart from just wastes some time and makes everyone go, after a long evening of playing, you go, right, now that you've had some fun, let's get an Excel spreadsheet out. Let's do some fun. That's the real fun of it. So no, I think you can take that out. That's just one of the other sort of things I just wanted to mention that you could take away from something to make it considerably smaller as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cool, no worries. And then we can move on to the Would You Rather. So now we can move on to the Would You Rather question for this episode. Would you guys rather be carrying your biggest game around with you once a month, or carry your smallest game around with you every day and have someone ask you why you're carrying it? This involves taking, if it's the big game, for instance, taking it everywhere. You need to go shopping. You're taking that with you.
Like I say, this is Davey at convention.
You need to go and visit your mum. You're taking it with her. You're taking it with you. Anywhere that you go in, any room that you're in, you're taking the game with you to be in that room with you, or to go to the location with you.
The smallest one or the biggest one?
The biggest one. The smallest one is always on your person because you can probably fit it in your pocket.
But you're always going to get nagged every day.
Someone's going to be asking you, why have you got that on you?
Yeah, the smallest one. Because I'm proud nerd that I am. I'm absolutely fine. I have been for years and years, a lot quicker than a lot of my friends. I was quite happy to announce my nerdiness to random people. Basically, like if they're like, "Are you a bit of a nerd?" No, I'm a lot of a nerd. Don't worry about it.
Big time.
Yeah. So the idea of carrying a button shy wallet on me at all times.
No, that's completely fair.
Just
might not ask you about it, and you go, "Well, it's this."
It's just a board game.
What if it's the same person that asks you? Like they instantly forget, like the yesterday they asked you. So it's like the next day's like, Adrian, why have you got a game on? And you're like, for fuck's sake, dude! Like,
well, it's like when you've gone to the office, like you're working, and
they keep repeating it every day.
It's a button shy wallet, so what I can do is I can keep in there a little business card,
and you just sort of pass
that
it to them.
I can just hand to them. Like, what was that terrible Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore, 51st Dates or whatever? Where she
terrible. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, but it was not.
I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad.
Where he kind of makes her a tape to watch first thing in the morning, right? And I could just have printed 1,000 business cards that I fit one inside the button shy wallet and then hand it across to them every single day. That's just like, you ask me this every day. This is a button shy wallet game. It's a small game that I carry everywhere, just in case I fancy playing a game.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Nice loophole.
That works a treat. What about you, JP?
Oh, how big is the biggest game?
What's your biggest game? What's your biggest game?
Oh God, the trove chest.
Yeah, it's got to be your biggest. It's got to be your heaviest.
All of the bones, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is in terms of density and weight, not board game weight, but just physical weight. Yeah, probably is.
It's just, as I say, it is just once a month.
Be the small one then.
Once a month.
But I don't even like moving that. When I moved house, it gave me anxiety moving that trove chest.
Fair.
And even to the point where one of the trays in that trove chest slightly, not bad, but slightly teared, slightly.
And you went on a...
And I was like, yeah, it gave me like real anxiety. And yeah, because obviously moving it, I had to empty it because you can't move it full.
It's just ridiculously
heavy. And you know, if that thing falls over at full, it's just going to blow up. It's going to basically explode. It's probably like a bottle cap mine from Fallout, but
just
with
bits
chips
everywhere.
Chips just firing off in all directions. So if that is the game, I'm going to have to pick the small one and punch people. Because I'm not doing it, even once a month. No, not doing it. I'm not even removing that out. If it's one of my other games, slightly smaller, and I just had to, you know, take the Anachrony Infinity box out for a walk once a month.
Voidfall or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think which is bigger. I think the Infinity box is bigger. I think.
Eclipse?
Eclipse is smaller.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, but then you got like Hoplo Victorum, which is not high, but it doesn't fit in the Kallax. It's wide and it's quite hefty. No, Cloud Spire is freaking heavy as well. There's a few options, but either way, if it was anything other than Trove Chest, then and you have to carry it. Is that right?
You bring it with you, so you carry it to where you go, and then but it's with you. It's not going to leave your side. You know, you're going shopping. You put it in the shopping
cart. It's in the trolley.
It's in the trolley with you. You're going around, and then you put it back in the car. And then you go into your mum and dad's house. You bring it with you. You put it in the house. It's in the same room as you. Yeah. It follows you.
Rusty wants a walk. Goes with you.
Goes in the backpack.
Rusty does a turd. Got to put it down on the floor and pick up his turd.
Has it been raining?
Oh, no. We'll go with
I'm just letting you right out of that, so have you.
Yeah.
It was strangely, like, we're just talking about Rusty. I was like, yeah, if Rusty goes number 2, what are you doing with that board game?
I got my rucksack and it can go in, it'd be fine, but most rucksacks won't hold some of those big games unless it's my board game bag, which means I'd have to have my board game bag strapped, which is doable. If it is doable for once a month, and now I'm going to go with it. If it's not the Trove Chest...
I'll allow it.
And
we'll allow it, not the Trove Chest. Just because I like the chest too much.
I'll tell you for why.
Don't spoil it.
I'll tell you for why. Because it's exercise and it'd be good for me, wouldn't it? Harry, you know, like walking around with a load of weight on the back thinking, oh, yes, you know, it would be good. I might actually lose a bit of timber. So.
Now he's in the supermarket turning around when his missus goes...
knocking Aunt May over.
Did you want this version of whatever? And he turns around and just knocks over 3 old grannies that are looking at the like delicatessen counter.
I'm so sorry. You've broken your hip.
I'll knock Aunt May over and all the zombies will come and eat her. There. Yeah, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with heavy. Bring it on once a month. It's a workout.
There.
What are you doing?
Well, I tried to size it up when I was at home looking at the cubes and giggity
Cubes.
Calyx cubes, not other cubes. Mind out of the gutter.
Nice cubes.
I was thinking about that because I was trying to size it up and thinking, what's bigger? Is it my Frosthaven box with? I have got a little side box with it to put the tiles in because the tiles don't quite nicely fit in the box. I've got a little side box where I put the tiles in.
Yeah.
Or is it my 3 Marvel Champions boxes? Because I bought special boxes, which is for conversation for some other time. But yeah, I've got 3 boxes of that. So when they stack, they fill up a whole cube on the 3.
And they're quite heavy, aren't they?
And they are quite heavy.
I'm guessing you got the MDF cut ones, right? Because I got the deep ones.
I got
and I can only fit 2 in.
I've definitely got 3 of them, and they fit. They do fit.
Yeah,
but like, one of them might be.
Mine's got the counter tray in it that you put across the top of the cards.
Only one of them has got the counter tray. The other 2 have not.
Yeah, no, I can slowly fit vertical placed cards.
Yeah,
and then the counter tray.
I don't know. I'd have to look. I'd have to look at it when I get home. It might be. I might have bought one and I haven't put it in properly. I probably haven't built it properly. No, my luck.
Just around.
It's probably upside down somehow or sideways, and it still fit.
To be fair, I did put little caster feet on the bottom, not casters, but little
rubber feet
on the bottom because it's a white Kallax and I stained the box and I was worried that the stain would rub off on. So to be fair, that's probably why I can't.
Possibly.
But yeah, God, I didn't even think about the Marvel Champions MDF boxes. No, definitely stick them in my button shroud.
Yeah, I was thinking that's probably bigger than my Frosthaven box.
Yeah.
They weigh a lot and my gluing skills are abysmal. If I move those and I have to take it with me wherever I go, that's going to fall apart. It's going to be a bottle cap mine situation like JP, and those cards are going everywhere, and I'm never going to figure it out, even though I've put them all in, scenario-based order and all the characters are together, all the villains together. Because I'm a big nerd and I love it, and it's just my OCD.
I can't imagine anyone ever doing Marvel Champions where they don't have dividers of some description and an order of some description.
Not now.
When you started, maybe.
Just the base box. As soon as you added one of those other boxes, it was immediately out the window as well, I felt like.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture what the maniac that just pours all of their cards into a big box and that'll do.
I'm going to deck build. Hold on.
You need the Sinister Motive, just the one. No? Okay, well, I'll be here for a week.
Not doing that.
Shifting through these cards. So no, I'm also going to have to probably take the small option. As I say, my smallest game is Cluster. So it's a bag of magnets. So if anyone asks why I've got a bag of magnets, I just like to make sort of magnet penis shapes.
Is that a series of magnets in your pocket? Are you pleased to see?
There is. I just walk around and just sort of pin them on sort of things, just leave them there. Yeah. At the end of the day, I come back and just tidy them up and put them back in the bag.
The person coming won't be saying, "Oh, what's that in your pocket?" It was a game. It's like,
are you sure?
Why do you have an erection, sir?
Yeah, I saw you yesterday. Are you sure you don't need medical assistance?
It's been 12 hours. I'm significantly more tired than I was yesterday.
Good fun.
But question. I definitely go for that.
Okay,
that's fine.
Cool.
So now we move on to our penultimate term, where we discuss what's upcoming for us, things that we're looking forward to, and the like. I'll start. So I have played 2 scenarios of the mini expansion that come with From the Ashes from the Skyrim Revenge game. Played the Dark Brotherhood mini campaign that came with that. There's like 4 mini campaigns that comes with it, but we've been playing that with me and my friend. When Frosthaven hasn't been a Friday night choice, we've decided to play that instead. So we hopefully have only got 1 more play of that to go. We've got 2 more assassins that need to be taken out. We're about roughly level 6. We've got some good gear, so I'm hoping that we can either get that to the table maybe next week, and then this week's off. Hopefully next week and finish that off. That'll be amazing, because then I can move on to probably a different one, or actually start the proper campaign for that game, which I've yet to do. I just went, I've got all the expansions now. Let's play a mini expansion rather than the actual main game.
Oh, right. You're not doing the big
I haven't done the main game just yet. Okay. I know Rob was like, we'll do it. And we go, okay. And that was that.
Yeah.
It's just obviously a time thing where trying to get everyone available is not easy.
No.
But that's life. But that's me. That's what I'm looking forward to. What about you, JP?
Well, I backed, talking about Kickstarters, I don't do anymore.
Is it a campaign?
No, it's not a campaign. No, I backed Ada's Dream, which is from Alley Cat Games. Completely forgot I've actually backed this until this moment. I was like, what am I going to talk about? So it's about Ada Lovelace, and I don't really know much about her, but she's apparently the first person or woman to have invented the computer, something like that.
Okay.
Before the computer age. And so if you've ever seen like, what is that film with Turing? Is it Turing?
The Imitation Game.
Yeah, if you've ever seen The Imitation Game, it's kind of like that, but obviously set in, I don't know, 19th century or maybe even older. I don't even know. I don't know my history, so don't quote me on it. But it looked like quite a fun dice drafty, rondelli, midweight Euro. I've not actually got like a nice solid midweight Euro for a long time, and it just looked like it was up my street. And the kind of player boards in it has this nice, where you kind of build in your computer as this nice kind of thing where you're kind of piecing together like your plus and minus signs to basically get the dice numbers all to add up to certain numbers, and then you can slot in these little slot cards that will help the goals that you're kind of going after. So it might be that you have to have certain colours in a row or column, or things have to add up over the certain number, get you certain victory points. And yeah, it looks like my jam. It's like midweight, dicey. I love dice drafting anyway. It's like one of my favourite mechanisms. And I'm actually having played Coimbra recently, and I kind of feel like I'm getting to the end of my life. That sounds really, really dramatic. But the end of my plays with Coimbra now. And I still think Coimbra is great. I think it's a solid game, but I've played it a lot. And I think it's just like, it doesn't excite me as much anymore. And it's just the way it is. And I think, maybe this might replace it. Never played it. So who knows?
You've only just seen the pictures.
Yeah, just kind of just looked at it, watched some videos and thought, it looks up my street, give it a go. And I've not backed anything for quite a while, actually. And it wasn't obscene. It's actually quite reasonable, UK-based, UK shipping, So it's not like a CMON shipping where you're paying £100 to get it here. It's all pretty reasonable. So I thought, why not? Let's give it a go.
No, sounds cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lovely.
That's me.
What about you, Adrian?
Yeah, I was trying to think of something where I didn't just go Primal, because that's my go-to response at the moment. Primal. So I am looking forward to playing that. But there's a couple of other things. So I was telling you just before the show, I've been trying to hook up my Quest to use the PC link, because I've not done it before. I've just used games straight off the headset. And I've had a bit of a nightmare with it. Computer keeps crashing, even though it's decent spec. Should absolutely be running stuff. So I'm looking forward to the point where I get that to work.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars Squadrons, my motion sickness has come back a little bit where I've not played it as much, but I really want to try Star Wars Squadrons and hope that the motion sickness isn't too crazy in that game, which it has the potential to be.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I am in the cockpit flying this ship. I'm now upside down and now I'm doing barrel rolls. Yeah.
I think it's perfect for VR, that game.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
It didn't really hit when I played it, like just on the flat screen.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be like really my jam, but no, I think VR is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and Half-Life Alyx is on sale in the Steam store at the moment at half price, and I keep telling myself I
like that game.
I don't like jump scares, and I know there's a few of them in there.
Head crabs.
It's not the scariest thing in the world, but if you jump and your headset's coming off.
Have you played the Darth Vader experience?
No.
Have you played it?
No. Vader Immortal?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
So there's one minor jump scare in that is so telegraphed, and because it's a Star Wars game, it's not really but I even found myself kind of knowing it was coming, kind of bracing myself and moving back in order to kind of try and get away from it as much as possible. And I thought, if that's what that's like, imagine games that actually want the jump scare in there. So I'm a little bit nervous about Half-Life Alyx, but I really want to now get the PC sort of link up and running so I can play these games. But the board game wise, the game that has sat there for a little while now since GridCon that I really want to give a go is Hamburg, which is the Stefan Feld relaunch of Bruges.
City collection.
City collection. And I say, I've loved what I've played of Stefan Feld so far, and I keep telling, apart from Civolution, and I keep telling myself, it's not a Stefan Feld game. I keep telling myself that I'm going to try more, and Hamburg has sat there for a little while because there's a few little interaction-y bits in there, and I kept sort of telling myself, okay, well, I'll get to that eventually. I think it's got to that point now where I just need to get on and play with it. So it's one I'm going to try and tempt a few groups into playing so I can get a few games of Hamburg in. So yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'll play anything.
Yes.
And with that, our final turn is wrapping up and victory points are about to be scored. Thank you everyone for listening. We really hope you enjoyed it. We'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe and review on your podcast player of choice. And we ask that you please share the podcast with at least one other person you think would enjoy it. If you would like to support the show and become a subscriber to shape our future content, you can visit our page on Ko-fi, spelled K-O-F-I. To get in contact with us, our details can be found in the show notes or on our website, which is www.whosturn.co.uk. We'll be back again next time with another episode. So until then, whose turn is it?